You can often come across an old photo on the internet of kids posing in front of a huge log building, a young boy and a girl with a balloon. The logs of the house are of such a huge diameter that the children standing in front of them seem tiny. The photo usually comes with the text stating that the house was built in 1905 and burned down in 1964. Allegedly, it was the largest log house in the world. The shot was taken in Oregon, a state in the northwestern United States near the border with Canada. Building houses from logs of coniferous and hardwood trees was very popular there. At the beginning of the 20th century, there were still a lot of giant trees in North America that had been around for hundreds of years. Chopping them down on a regular basis was too much trouble, so the majestic building was only constructed for a very specific reason. They were holding an exposition in Portland in 1905. Since Oregon is a forest state, such an occasion couldn't be ignored, so they decided to build the largest log house in the world. The so-called forestry building turned out to be 22 meters high. Imagine a 7-story building, 63 meters long and 31 meters wide. $30,000 were spent on its construction. Taking into account inflation, it's almost $1 million today. They searched for huge trees all over the area. The trees were found, cut down, and the house was built. The highest tree used in the construction was 16 meters long and almost 2 meters in diameter. The exposition was a great success, visited by 1.6 million people. And then it turned out that nobody needed the forestry building. The log cabin looked very impressive. It was officially owned by the local authorities. Unfortunately, it simply stood there idle for many years, slowly falling apart. In the 20s of the 20th century, some businessmen tried to buy it out for timber, but they never reached an agreement with the local authorities. In the 50s, the building was renovated, but for some reason, they didn't update the wiring, which was a big mistake. On August 17, 1964, the giant log house burned down. The flame reached high into the sky, and the ashes covered the ground for 1.5 miles around. It was a truly surreal sight. Unfortunately, the story of the largest log house in the world ended so ingloriously. However, modern researchers argue that the forestry building wasn't actually the biggest log cabin, but the second biggest. The Old Faithful Inn in Yellowstone National Park is now recognized as the biggest house built of logs. It was constructed in 1904 and is still in operation. However, in the case of the inn, a lot of stone was used during construction in addition to the wooden logs. Moreover, the diameter of the logs used for the Oregon forestry building was probably larger. Thus, it's not really all that clear which building should hold the first place. But does it really matter? Pictures from the construction site are amazing. The old shots are simply breathtaking. It was too bad for the old trees, of course, but that house was built when people still put their needs and desires before the good of nature.